Hi, I'm Chris Leader. I'm the president of Leaders Edge Training, and I want to welcome you to our monthly tips. I hope you're going to enjoy them. Feel free to forward them on to anybody on your contact management system. Hi, and welcome to this month's real estate tip. The tip this month is the client's always right. Often in sales, we think we know what our clients want, and we don't listen carefully enough to understand what they're really asking for. You know, I think back to a situation that I had early in my real estate career where I listed a for sale by owner. Now, this for sale by owner I found in the local newspaper. I called on, and it turned out the home was owned by an elderly couple, Mr. and Mrs. Crawford. Mr. Crawford and Mrs. Crawford had built this home right after World War II with a VA mortgage, and they had lived their entire life there. It was a beautiful little bungalow on a half acre of grounds with a carport and a breezeway. Special little property, and you could tell they had really taken a lot of pride in building of this home. It wasn't a large house, but it was very tidy. I had to go up many afternoons and have tea with Mrs. Crawford until she was convinced I was the person to represent her. But in any event, I got the listing and I got it on the market. A couple of weeks after I listed it, I got an offer on the property. Now, to give you some idea how far back my real estate career goes, I listed the property. Fair market value at that time was $56,900. I got an offer that week for $54,000. Mrs. Crawford was very excited about the thought of selling, and her husband Ozzie were going to be moving to an old age home together, and they were looking forward to getting out from underneath the responsibilities of home ownership. In any event, we brought the offer to the kitchen table, and it wasn't my offer. It was brought by a competing firm who had showed the property this week. And when we were sitting at the table going over the offer, Mrs. Crawford asked a very peculiar question. She looked at the offer and she first said to me, "Chris, are these the folks that saw the house this week?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, they are." And she said, "I don't understand something. I'm looking at this offer and they don't have the same last name. Are these the ones that came through with all the children?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, they are." She said, "Are they married?" And I said, "I'm not sure." She said, "Could you take a minute, please, and find out for me?" I made an inquiry and got back to the table and I said, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Crawford, they're not married." And she said, "Well, this is going to be a problem." And I said, "I don't understand. It's a great offer. The offering price is very close to your asking. The dates, all of the stuff around the offer is almost perfect." And she said, "My husband and I are God-fearing people. We built this house ourselves with our own hard work and sweat." She said, "There's no way I'm going to sell my house to somebody who's not married." I sat back in my chair. I said, "Mrs. Crawford, I don't think you can do that. I think that's against the law." She looked at me and she said, "You're not understanding. You're not listening to me." She said, "I'm 78 years of age. I've owned this home and built it myself. Are you telling me I can't decide who I want to sell it to? And if I choose not to sell it to these people, are you telling me somebody's going to come and put me in jail?" I said, "Well, probably not, Mrs. Crawford, but I still don't know if we can do this." She said, "I'll make it very clear to you. These folks have a decision to make. They have two choices. They can either find another house or go and get married. But tell them to make a decision and make it quickly so I'll know if we've sold the home or not." I had to call the other agent, and the agent was very clear, very surprised. And the folks didn't go and get married, and they went off and bought another home. About a week or so later, another offer came in from some completely different couple. Mrs. Crawford looked at the offer, and she said, "Was this the young couple that came through this week?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, they are." She said, "Look at that. They got the same last name." And I said, "Yes, they do." She said, "But they've offered $2,000 less than the initial offer." And I said, "That's correct." She said, "I want you to know something. This home means a lot to me, and I need to know that the people who are going to live in it are going to take care of it and love it the way Ozzie and I did. I'll be quite happy to accept their offer for $2,000 less than the first offer we received." You see, what I learned that day was the client is always right. It's their house, and it belonged to Mrs. Crawford. She could choose to do with it whatever she wanted. I may have thought it may have been better for her to sell that home to the folks that were willing to pay more, but she needed peace of mind, and she got it that afternoon.